To add a little addendum to our last of our Torah, speaking about the Shirat HaBe'er, the Ali Be'er, we said the song of the future, the song Latid Lavo. So I kind of hinted in the last of our Torah that this song corresponds to the end generations, which corresponds to Shevet Dan, corresponds to those last Pesukim of the Torah. So I want to bring that point home a little bit clearer, that this is the song of Shevet Dan, based on an idea I want to borrow from Moshe Shapira. Moshe Shapira on Parshat Balak, and we know in Chutzlar it's a double Parsha, Hukat Balak, so let's connect the two Parshas. When Balak tries to curse the Jewish people, when Bilam tries to curse the Jewish people, he can't do it. The evil prophet is looking, and he can't do it. So the pasuk says, "Vayar misham katzeh ha'am." He comes and he starts to look at the katzeh of the am, the corner of the nation. What does it mean, the corner of the nation? What is the katzeh of the Jewish people? So the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, he learns that the katzeh is a symbol of like the lowest point, like the furthest away, those that are spiritually furthest away. And who are those? So it says the Targum Yonatan brings down Moshe Shapira, Moshe Wolfson, Ra'a Shevet Dan. He saw Shevet Dan, Shnifletu min ha'anan. He saw that Shevet Dan had been spit out of the clouds. We spoke many times in the past that Shevet Dan, because of their Avodah Zarah, were not protected by the clouds, and now Bilam wants to curse the Jewish people. So the easiest target is going to be the Jewish people that have been kind of spit out. The Hashem kind of on the surface level, it seems like Hashem forgot about them. He kicked them out of the protection. And how could it be that Bilam could see the Shevet Dan? Why weren't they protected completely by the clouds? Because they were spit out by the clouds. So that's what he was trying to do. And why was he doing that? Because he needed to find something to take hold of. He needed to find someone who was sinning. He wanted to awaken. He says over here, says from Moshe Wolfson, he wanted to awaken the Chet HaEgel, this Avodah Zarah. But he says, Aval ta'ut gadolta. But Bilam made a very big mistake. Because Hashem loves even the most garua, even the lowest of the Jewish people. Hashem loves that Jew with a great and powerful love. And Hashem does not want them to get hurt any kind of way. There's no Hashem doesn't want any Yisurin. Hashem really loves even the furthest away. And he brings down from the Orach Chaim HaKadosh that at the start of Parshat Pinchas, we're finally going to name the sinner of the head of the tribe of Shimon. B'Shem Ish Yisrael HaMukah Asher Hukat Midyanit. What was the name of the Jewish person who was killed with the Midianite woman? Perush, says Rav Moshe Wolf, said Sha'afa Pishin Iskar Avono V'Kilkel Shekilkel. Even though he's now being told he's being called a sinner, and we know he's a sinner. Mikol Makom B'Shem Ish Yisrael V'Afa V'Shechata Yisrael. But he's still called an Ish Yisrael. So even the sinner, even Zimri in our parasha. At the end of Parashat Balak, at the beginning of Parashat Pinchas, even him is called a Yisrael. Yisrael. And he says this also might explain why the very last word in the Torah is Yisrael. He says in the Torah itself, the very last 8 pesukim that we spoke about, that were written bedema, that were written with black fire, there's no spaces. It also hints to the shvirah, it hints to the breaking of the luchot. It hits to the Egel HaZahav itself. But in that hint at the very end of the Torah, in the hint to the sin itself, we have Yisrael. Because a Jew, afal pi shechata, even though he sins, is still a Jew, and Hashem still thinks about them. And then Rav Olson goes on to again explain that the Torah itself, every Jew has a letter in the Torah where the more holy one might be connected to Bereshit. He says Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Mashiach, the source of Mashiach, might be in Bereshit, in the bet of Bereshit. But as you go through the Torah, we're going to go down the generations of the Jewish people. We're going to get to the very end of the Torah, the last 8 pesukim where Moshe Rabbeinu dies by Yamot Moshe. That's where Shevet Dan is going to be, and that's why Shevet Dan, the most garua, the most yarud, the lowest of the tribes, he's still going to have an achizah. He's still going to have a claim to those last 8 pesukim. And he says those last 8 pesukim that hint to the breaking of the luchot, that hint to the sin of the Egel HaZahav that led to the breaking of the luchot, it all starts with the Vayamot Moshe. It all starts with the death of Moshe, because that's when sin comes into the world. Why did they sin with the Egel? Because the Satan tricked them and made them think Moshe Rabbeinu had died. And when Moshe Rabbeinu is not around, that's when the balagan starts happening. Those last 8 pesukim is when Moshe is not around, because he says that Shevet Dan, the katzeh of the Am, those that are in the corner of the corner, they relate to these pesukim when there is no Moshe Rabbeinu, but they're still connected. They still have their kohot to the Torah itself. He actually has a whole connection over here with the Shemona Psukim, Shemona being the Brit Milah, that they still have the Brit Milah. I remember we spoke in the past about Amalek, Vayizaneh Bechaz going for their Brit Milah. So they're still a Jew ultimately in their source of all sources. But if we can see the idea now much tighter, that when Moshe Rabbeinu is missing, when the name is missing in the Torah, when there's a lack of Moshe Rabbeinu, but there's still Torah there, and there's still a Jewish people, and there's still Shevet Dan there. So therefore, take it back to our Parashat Hukat now, when we're speaking about this song of the Ali Be'er, we're speaking about the Shirat Be'er, and we start off with the question, Why does it say Az Yashir Yisrael? And Moshe's name is not mentioned anywhere. Yes, this is the song of Shevet Dan, the song of the last 8 psukim of the Torah, the song that's sung even after there's an Egel HaZahab, even after there's a Shvirah, where things aren't clear, there's darkness, there's no Moshe, the Satan is confusing us. But if we still do it right, if we can get that, tap into that koach of Dan, which is the koach of the mother of Mashiach, the koach of the Lishuatcha Kibiti Hashem, the koach of Dan, really in the end of days when he can really step it up, those last psukim, Ikva the Mashiach, we can really sing an unbelievable, beautiful song to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and bring the Kedusha from the bottom up on top. Shabbat Shalom.